Okay, so All-Star Superman is one of the best Superman books of all time, bar none. There's like no debating that. But I don't think it's the best Superman book of all time, like a lot of people do, because there's one fundamental flaw, which I've talked about before, but now I'm going to go into that a bit more. And that fundamental flaw that holds it back from being the best Superman book of all time is the characterization of Lois, and, well, more specifically, the characterization of, like, Lois and Clark's relationship in the book, because it's done so poorly, it's handled terribly. Because what it is Lois doesn't care for Clark Kent at all. They're barely even friends. But then the second Clark opens his shirt up, is like, oh, it's got the S underneath, it turns out he's Superman, she just switches and she loves him. Well, at first she doesn't even believe him because she hates Clark that much, and she loves Superman that much that she can't believe that they're the same person. It can't, like, in her mind, she's like, no way this guy that I can't stand to even be around is this guy that I absolutely love and am infatuated with. It was just done so poorly. I absolutely hate that, and I hate it whenever they do that in anything, like in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I love the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, don't get me wrong, they're great, but I hated the fact that Mary Jane could not stand Peter Parker for the most part. She was kind of like friends with him, she's like, yeah, get lost, nerd, and then it turns out he's Spider-Man, she's like, marry me, and it's like, I don't like that. I think it's stupid, because they're falling in love with, like, the hero aspect, not exactly who, like, the character actually is, and I always hated that when they do that. And so when they did that in All-Star Superman, I never got why everyone always kind of gave it a pass. Like, why does everyone that, like, regards this as the best Superman book ever always give that a pass? I almost never, like, I've never actually seen it brought up ever whenever people talk about All-Star Superman. I've never seen anyone be like, yeah, I like it, but this one part. Like, I've never seen anyone bring that up, and so that's what I want to talk about today, and I brought it up before, like, on Twitter and I believe in past videos, because it's just stupid. It's like, there's no point in doing it. I hate the fact, I don't get why Grant Morrison did it. It's just one of those things that's like, it doesn't make sense to me why you have a great, an almost perfect Superman book, and then you do something stupid like this. Like, why? That's what's so cool about Superman, like in John Byrne's run originally. Like, she didn't find out that Clark Kent and Superman were one and the same until she had a ring on her finger. So she fell in love with Clark and who he was, not just this big heroic Superman that everyone loves. Like, it doesn't take much to love Superman, but Clark Kent, that's more personal. And in this, it's like, oh, well, he reveals to her, because, okay, so if you haven't read All-Star Superman, or if you haven't seen the movie, which the movie's actually really good, and it's one of the best adaptations of a comic book, it cuts a lot out, but to be fair, like, this is a pretty thick book, so it made sense that they cut out, and what they cut out generally made sense. Like, you didn't need to see Jimmy Olsen becoming Doomsday and stuff like that. Like, what they cut out, it made sense. It gets down to, like, the meat and potatoes of it, and it gets the gist across, and it's a good movie. It's not perfect, but it's a good movie. But anyways, yeah, so the book is basically Superman gets an overexposure of solar radiation so much that he gets too powerful and he's gonna die. And that's all the doing of Lex Luthor. So, when this happens, he's like, yeah, I don't want to, like, I don't want to die with any regrets, so I'm going to go tell Lois that I'm Superman, that Superman and Clark are one and the same. So he does this, and when he does that, Lois is just like, what? No way. Even though he's talking to her, he's Clark Kent, and then he rips his shirt open and it's got the S underneath, she still doesn't believe him at first. She's like, no, there's no way that you two are the same, because Clark Kent is this big dumb idiot that I hate, and you're this guy that I absolutely love. And just, why, Grant Morrison? Why? Because Grant Morrison did great, and this is like one of the few great things that Grant Morrison has done for Superman. Because if you read his run in Action Comics in New 52, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was like a subpar Superman book, because I was so excited for that when it first happened. I was like, yeah, Grant Morrison, the writer of All-Star Superman, is going to be put on the Action Comics New 52 book, and then he didn't do so well with it. But with All-Star Superman, he, like, friggin' nailed it for the most part, besides that Lois Lane aspect. Like, just why would you do that? Like, I don't know, because she's not falling in love with Clark, she's falling in love with Superman. That part always bugged me, and I always thought was just plain retarded, and just, why would you do that? Like, why? But yeah, that's just an aspect that bugged me about the book all the time, and it also bugged me the fact that everyone gave it a pass and never mentioned it at all. Like, are you okay with it? Like, if you read All-Star Superman, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that, hey, it's fine that that she loves Superman but hates Clark, and Clark is like who Superman really is? Because, you know, again, it's easy for someone to fall in love with Superman. You see him on the TV saving people, it's like, that guy's awesome! But then Clark Kent, nerdy reporter, it's not so easy. It's like, you know, it's more personal. It takes more getting to know that guy. So, Yeah, because like I said, in John Byrne's run, she didn't know Clark and Superman wanted the same until she had a ring on her finger, and I really like that because you saw those characters getting to know each other. You saw her falling in love with Clark. You saw Clark being there for her, like, when stuff was going bad with her family and everything, and it was nice to see that. But instead of this, I get why they didn't, like, expand their relationship, because they didn't have the time to, like, show, here's them falling in love. But you could have already established it, like, that her and Clark did like each other already, and then he just, but, like, they were already dating or something, and then he just drops the Superman bomb. That would make sense. But instead, it's no, she can't stand Clark. She absolutely despises him. But he's Superman, so it's all good. She loves him because he's Superman. He gives her powers on her birthday. I don't know. Just, yeah, this book, it's great, but it definitely has its flaws, and that's the biggest flaw. That's the thing that always bugged me. I know there's going to be people in the comments saying she didn't hate him and despised him. They were good friends. Not really. From what we saw in the book, she seemed kind of like they were okay friends. Like, Clark was kind of the guy that she used and was, like, kind of tolerated from work. That seemed to be the relationship they had. She didn't absolutely hate him, but it was kind of like she just kind of used Clark, and he was the guy that she kind of tolerated from work. That's how I saw it. Anyways, back to the video. This was kind of a short, random video, but it's just something I want to talk about. Please let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this? What are your thoughts? If you've read All-Star Superman, which I highly recommend you do. If you haven't, you definitely need to read it. If you have, what are your thoughts on this? Has this always bugged you? Have you never really thought about it before? Because I've thought about it a lot. I've always talked about it before. Just this was the first time I really, like, went in depth with it. It just always bugged me with the fact that she didn't fall in love with Clark. She fell in love with this figure. She fell in love with Superman, not Clark, and that is, I didn't like that. I hated that, and it didn't make sense to me coming from Grant Morrison, who wrote this great story, and then he did this. It's like, why? It's like, how could Frank Miller write something so amazing like Year One and then go and write All-Star Batman and Robin? It's like, how? Except this happened in the same book. It's like amazing stuff, and then something stupid with the Clark and Lois relationship didn't make sense. Anyways, please let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this? Like, what are your thoughts on the whole Lois and Clark relationship in All-Star Superman? Did it bug you? Did you not care? Did you ignore it? Whatever. Please let me know in the comments below, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
I've been so alone ever since I left the tribe. That's just how it goes, guess I like the lonely.